The other night, I was talking with my daughter about a show she wanted to watch on Netflix. And I said, we can watch it tomorrow. And she kind of started to pout. And I said, you know what? When Dad was your age, if he wanted to watch DuckTales on TV, he had to be in front of the TV at a certain time of the day. And if he wasn't there, he would never be able to watch that television show. And she asked me, are you joking? And since I joke with my kids a lot, I gave them a rule saying, if you ever want to know if I'm being serious, just ask me and I will be 100% honest with you. So she asked, are you joking? I said, no, I'm not joking. That's how it was. If I wanted to watch that show, I had to be in front of the TV at that specific time. She looked at me for a second and she busted out laughing, just laughing out loud. I haven't heard her laugh like that in a long time. And we kept talking about it, but after that, I kind of reflected on that conversation with her, and there was a sense of that was better. And I couldn't really put my finger on why. Before I continue, I'd ask if you have been watching my videos, I would love it if you're finding value in them to subscribe to my channel. It's just a great signal for me that I'm providing value for you. And so back to my daughter. Why was that better? Why did it feel better for me? Because it's not necessarily just because you feel that way that it's true. Maybe it's better now. But I started to really think about it. And I remember back when Lost was on, if you wanted to be up to date with culture, at least from that standpoint, you had to watch the show at that specific time. And that created a shared commitment across everybody who was watching that television show. And that shared commitment created a real cultural gravity. If every night or if once a week at a certain point in time the episode was on, you had to commit and show up and watch the show so that you didn't miss out. And so there's some FOMO going on. Hi, Gigi. But other than that, you could talk about it the whole week. It created more than just the moment. It was the whole thing. You could theorize about what was going to happen next week. And that kind of shared commitment and cultural gravity, we just don't have it anymore. Nothing in our lives requires that level of commitment. Let's go into like streaming, because there's still services that release television shows every week. And yeah, if you want to be up to date with culture, you have to watch it that night. But if you don't watch it that night, you can just go and watch it tomorrow or even later. And that carries over into YouTube. Okay, there's a YouTube premiere. Yeah, if you want to watch it live, you can. But then a couple hours later, it's up on their YouTube channel, available forever. And so it doesn't create that gravity. With Lost, if you didn't see it, you couldn't watch it until it came out on DVD. And so then you were, and we can argue about whether you had to or not. I'm just saying, nowadays, if you watch a TV show, that doesn't exist at all. I'll just watch it tomorrow, or don't tell me about that because I'll watch it. And you can still have shared experiences with the television show with people. And I'm not trying to put this kind of thing up on such a pedestal. It's just a commentary. But I haven't watched that season yet, or it's in our backlog, we'll get to it, or whatever. With Lost, it was you either saw it that night or you didn't, and you kind of either in the club or you weren't. And with streaming, we can't even recreate that just because it's available the next day. And then think about all the other culture that's getting created. So streaming gives us access to culture, a crazy amount, wherever we want it. And there's pitfalls with that. I mean, I can go on streaming platforms when we have a bunch, and I can spend my whole day just scrolling through them and not choosing anything. And that's kind of like scrolling on your phone. And there's so much culture being created on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook every minute that you can't possibly keep up. It's not like television where there were five TV shows and we didn't have cable, but five television stations. We didn't have cable, so that that amount of choice just drives up the FOMO, drives up the anxiety, and requires no commitment. If I wanted to see a meme, early internet meme, grape stomping lady, I can go on YouTube and I can find it right now. And that's the case for any current trend or meme or whatever. I can just, oh, I didn't see that. I'll just watch it later. Or can you show me it? Oh, okay, I get it. And you caught up to speed like that. There was no commitment involved. You can do it in the moment, which it's funny that there is the FOMO because you're not missing out. If someone mentions something, you can just ask, what are you talking about? They can show you and you say, oh, that makes sense. So with all that choice introduces, and all that content and culture that's available introduces what is called the paradox of choice. And that is the idea and the observed reality that the more choices we have isn't necessarily the better. And in fact, it creates anxiety for us because there's so many choices. We're always worried that the choice we make is the wrong one. A lot of businesses operate on like, let's give the customer 3 choices and good, better, best, and then they can figure out where they're at in there. But anything beyond that introduces kind of anxiety. And in those cases, we look to other people and what they're doing. And we kind of say, okay, well, if they chose that choice, then if most people chose that one, I'm going to do that. Or whatever choice I saw first. I mean, we kind of revert to some like basic instinct of survival in those cases just to get us through the choice. And the amount of choice we have now is insane, introducing crazy amounts of anxiety for many reasons, but it's one of them. There's just the amount that's out there. And yeah, we talk about infinite scrolling. There wasn't infinite TV. There wasn't infinite appointment TV. There was a couple. And yeah, you had to make a decision about what you're going to watch on 7 p.m. But that, even in that choice created different tribes of people. Like, I don't watch Lost, I watch this or whatever. Or don't watch anything at all. And there's plenty of those people today. And that's fine. You don't have to engage in in this kind of culture if you don't want. There's no judgment there. And so what can we do about this? What's some practical advice with this? I mean, we can recreate this. Well, first of all, we can reduce the amount of choice we have. So we can cut down on the streaming services and apps we use, if that's possible. So look at how many streaming services you have and just try to cut one out, cut 2 out. Just see if you can do it. I kind of limit myself on streaming services to like 2 television shows active at a time. Usually I try one with my wife and then one on my own. And if I'm sick of it, I either kind of commit to, oh, I'm not going to watch that again. What's my new one? Or I commit to watching it. And it drives better consumption habits for me because if I'm not feeling that TV show, then I just don't watch anything, or I try not to. And I give myself an exception for films. I can watch a film too. So that's one thing we can do, is just cut down the amount. Another thing we can do is kind of recreate this appointment TV thing. When I was a kid, we would watch, or not, I mean, when I was a kid, but for sure, but when I was in college, we would all gather in my college house, and people would come from other places, other friends from other houses, and we would watch Survivor together. And it created that event, and we can still do that. So I've thought about other people that I know still watch Survivor, reaching out to them and saying, hey, let's watch the premiere of the new season together. And for those of you that were never part of watch parties, that created a cultural event in and of itself. Oh, it's the last episode of Lost. Let's have a party and watch it together. You'd have people come in there that they haven't watched Lost all season, but they're going to watch this and they're familiar with some of the things or whatever. We still have that with the Super Bowl. people watch the Super Bowl that never watched any football, and I'm trying to turn into one of those people for other reasons. But yeah, we can do that again. Let's pick a show that's still on network TV, and let's try to do some watch parties about it. Another thing we can do, the last thing that I thought about doing, is starting a rewatch of some old show. Getting a group of friends together to commit to rewatching that, and say, can we watch one a week, or on a set schedule, so that we can all talk about it. And maybe it's a show we haven't seen before, or maybe it's one that we've all seen, or whatever it is. Kind of like a book club, but more. Let's be intentional about it. Let's all, watch the episode at a certain point in time, or by a certain point in time, and then we can talk about it. But no, no binging shows, no getting ahead of things of that nature. Like, let's experience this media the same way. And that really boils down to, there's cultural commitment, or there's a commitment to this thing that creates cultural gravity. And with our current media consumption habits, there's no commitment at all. It's so passive, and especially in our communications with each other, it's I text you, you text me later. There's not, there's not as many phone calls going on. There's not as much in-person interaction going on. And I don't want to get into why or whatever. I just think that flimsiness of our digital relationships is doing us real harm. And so the media consumption isn't necessarily the bad part, because people have been consuming media forever. But I think it's the commitment that's involved. That's the real difference between what was going on before, and why that felt better, and what's happening now in today's modern world. That's all I have for today. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you'd subscribe, that would be awesome. New creator. Every subscriber is a signal I'm providing value. If you know of anyone else in your life that's dealing with scrolling issues or any type of habit change, because lots of my advice is transferable to any kind of habit change, tell them I'm out here trying to help. Share the channel with them, and tell them I'm committed to helping them with their issues in their life. That's all I have. Appreciate you. Until next time, bye.